Welcome to a fresh episode of The Officer's Desk, a new show on ThePrint where every week we have a retired civil servant come here and discuss with us their 30 to 40 years of service, their insights into how the Indian state works, their experiences with different politicians, and really telling us how they govern this really vast subcontinent. Today, I have with me a retired railway service officer and a former chairman of the railway board, Mr. Arunendra Kumar. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. So, first up, sir, if you can just tell us that you joined the railway as a mechanical engineer officer. Now, this was back in 1976. Tell us a little bit about this job. Was it even back then a highly coveted job? What were the early postings like? So just tell us about the initial years.
And when I went for the UPSC written test, that was the first time I traveled in a train with a cushioned berth. I never entered the train from the door. I always entered from the window in general compartment. And that is the first time I entered through the door. I had a reservation and I went there, gave the exam, and I, of course, passed. So a very tough exam, special class railway apprentices, 8 students could make through from the whole country. I was number 4. And we had a place called Gymkhana in Jamalpur, Bihar, Indian Railway Institute of Mechanical and Electrical Engineering. It was a sandwich course, practical and theory, and highly competitive because 8 brains in the country sitting together. You cannot expect anything but cutthroat competition every day. And when you pass out, you go to the railway, you have training, and then you're on the job.
So you said 8 people got through this exam. How many appeared for it?
At least 20,000 plus appeared. 190 made it for the personality test, and 10 made it for the cut. 2 were rejected in medical, so 8 came finally. That's how it is.
Yeah. So you mentioned about the training for the railway mechanical engineers. Now, tell us a little bit about this training. Are mechanical engineers in the railways trained a bit differently from mechanical engineers elsewhere? What is it like?
See, every railway, there are very many departments, 8 of them, and every officer who gets into a particular service has a standard charter which is different in specific areas, specialized areas, but is common for like the railway staff college training, which we call the foundation course or the induction courses. So those are basic trainings, 3 months and 2 months kind of thing, where everyone comes together and have the training. But like me, a mechanical engineer, I must get exposure to the mechanical or the side of the railways. The electrical engineer will have to the electrical side. The operations man will have the operations side. So that is signaling person will have a signaling training, different institutes. And every service has an institute for specialized training. But the training is different altogether, and it is required to be different because the heart core of the particular service has to be honored and imbibed and grid into you at the very beginning.
And since the very beginning, is it that Railways has had both engineering service officers and civil service officers?
Yes, that's right. We got to have a mix of what we need. We need a person who can run a train. We need a person who can do financial accounting and financial handling of the whole budget and things of that sort. We need a person who understands what is a coach, what's a locomotive. We need a person to understand what's a track, what's a building, because railway is an envelope in which everything is available in house. So, and everything, we are not taking anybody on deputation inside the railway that, oh, look here, I don't have a bridge engineer. No, I must hire from somebody. It's not like that. You train a person to be a bridge engineer. You send him out for training, India or abroad. What is the material? So you have a bridge engineer, you have a machine engineer, you have a signaling engineer. Within signaling, there are lots of iterations. So you have to be groomed like that. Then only you can proceed.
Within the bureaucracy, so there's so much criticism of IAS officers for running almost everything in the country. In fact, even a few years ago, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said on the floor of the parliament कि IAS बाबू ही सब कुछ चलाते हैं, हवाई जहाज भी वो उड़ाते हैं, कारखाने भी वो चला रहे हैं chemicals के, fertilizer के. That has never been the case with the railways. Why do you think that has not happened, and why has railways had a specialized service of its own from the very beginning?
Honestly, railway is a very tough service. It's 24/7, 365 days a year. When I go home, I don't say that I'm off my job because the train is running. We are always contactable. So it's very demanding. I'm not just trying to say that any other service is less demanding, but railway is certainly very heavily demanding. And people who have come into railways, they always remain, by and large, leaving some people resign and go away or go on deputation. They stay in the railways, they make a career in the railways. But coming into railways from any other civil service, people find themselves to be a misfit. They have never tried. Even if they have tried, they have not succeeded. But I have yet to see any non-railway person coming into the railway, working here and then going back. It is impossible. It is so specialized by, like operations, there are so many categories of operations: passenger operation, freight operation, computerization, everything is different. We take support of specialized agencies, but having an officer of other cadre into railways is bound to fail. It's not happened.
In fact, relatedly, the railway board we know that was created in 1905, and this was more than half a century after the railways first came to India. And the rationale that was given for having a different railway board was actually given by someone called Mr. Thomas Robertson, who was an English railway expert who was brought in to sort of recommend restructuring in the railways. And he said, and I'll read this out, that he said that the railways should be run by a small body of practical businessmen who have the full authority to manage the railways, and therefore the railway board was made subordinate to but outside the government of India. Which it continues to be. Explain to our viewers, sir, why is this necessary?
Honestly, railway board is not outside the government today. All the officers of railway board, they rise from the ranks, general managers to members. One of the members is chairman, and they work within the ambits of railways. That's the railway ministry. Railway board is the railway ministry by and large. Everything is the same. So they are part of the railway. They are part of the government. But what is a general manager is called the agent of the railway. The British who designed the railway infrastructure and organizational infrastructure gave all the powers to the general manager. But the problem came that there were so many railways in the country when the country got independent. So everybody had his own agenda. So we had a ministry, and whose job was only to amalgamate everything. Once you start joining everything, you have to have uniformity, and a central board is required, which has to have a lot of parts. So a lot of powers were taken away, and operational powers were, of course, remained with the people on the field. But policy making powers came to the board. It has been picking up. Board is becoming more powerful in the sense that they are doing all the policy making, because it has to be uniformly done all over the country. So you have a central service recruited by UPSC. Officers are posted in the field. They only come to the board and executive director, then they go back to the field, then they come to the board again. So this keep on shifting and intermixing keep on happening. So railway board today is very much a part of the system, of the government, of the ministry.
So, sir, you joined the railways in 1976, and there were so many changes that the railways would have underwent in these 4 decades because you retired in 2014. But one of the most transformative changes that comes to mind, and because we have a lot of our viewers who are very young who wouldn't know, is the transition from having a special railway budget to merging it with a general budget. Now, if you had to explain it to people who were in their early 20s, why did we earlier have separate budgets, and why was it such a big deal to merge the railway budget with the general budget?
Very simple. When you have a railway budget, you got to, what is the budget? You got to generate your revenue, and you expend that money. And everybody expects that you'll generate sufficient profit to fund your whatever your dreams are for infrastructure. Now, railway has limitation because we are a government department. We are governed by government rules of expenditure and income. You can't fix the prices which you want to. So your support used to be very much sketchy from the government of India. It used to be from kind of a gross budget allocation, and you have to pay a dividend. So the growth did not take off. The present government did a very intelligent thing. They said, why do railway ministry only have a separate budget? There are so many others, they don't have a separate budget. They have a separate budget, all right, but not a separate budget as presented in the parliament. So they mixed it with it, and now the railway financial support has completely jumped to from what it was 35, 37,000 crore to 2 lakh, 3 lakh crores we are touching. as the overall expenditure of the plan. So this has given a boost to the railway financing of infrastructure. That's why you see all kinds of, we are railways diversifying in various new lines, new bridges, bullet trains, and things of that sort. So this has helped for the people to understand. It's another. There was no need for two budgets in the government. The government is the same, the prime minister is the same, the cabinet is the same. So why do we have two budgets? It was continuing because somebody was not taking that shot. That can you not combine that? And there were maybe political motives. I'm not too sure of that, but it could be that the railway minister wanted a separate standing as compared to others. Still, you have that. That's not that not, but you are getting so much support financial that it has come to your great handy in expanding your infrastructure.
Our audiences are fairly familiar with, say, how an IAS officer rises up the ranks, because we are very familiar with the posting of the DM to begin with, and not to begin with, but the one of the early postings. Tell us about the railways. What were your early postings like? What were the early challenges working in as a railway officer like? Take us back in time.
Oh, okay. Let me talk of the organization first. Posting. You join railways after UPSC selection as an assistant officer. You call assistant mechanical engineer, assistant operations manager, assistant civil engineer, assistant signaling engineer. That is about 3 years. Then you become a senior scale officer. Senior scale officer is like the district magistrate, and that is about 5 years. So after about 10 years, 11 years of service, you are becoming fit for junior administrative grade. That's a long grade. Junior administrative grade, you start from, let's say, 12 years to about 27 years. Okay, 15 years you are in that grade. And then you see a lot of promotions which add to your responsibility and to your experience, but not, let's say, financially.
What all are you handling at this point?
As a junior administrative officer, you are in charge of a particular unit, let's say particular shed. I was senior divisional mechanical engineer running a diesel shed Ratlam maintenance facility. Deputy chief mechanical engineer running a big workshop, whether locomotive workshop, coaching workshop. So this is a place where you are trained really to be on the field, manage the people, manage the staff, manage the technology, manage the inputs of new challenges, new directives on the board, but you are a field officer. Everything on the field, you make your plan, send it to the board for whatever changes you want. You become the senior administrative grade. After senior administrative grade, you can become DRM. Very few become DRM, means you are in charge of CEO of a division. There are 68 divisions now, and 69 with the move coming up. And after division DRM, then you come as again, generally a principal have the department, a chief mechanical engineer, chief operations manager, or a principal chief mechanical engineer. Designations keep on changing. And after that, general manager. And after general manager, either you become additional member, then general manager, or then a member, and then chairman. So this is how it goes. If you see the whole spectrum of 35, 40 years, the last 7 years you see great rise. The first 12 years you see a rise, and the rest all is you are handling different assignments, different responsibilities. Like for me, I'm a mechanical maintenance man. I did coaching, I did wagon, I did train operations, I came to policy making. I went on slight deputation to a personal department, did HRD work. Then I was the executive director, corporate coordination, the board, railway board, to the three chairmen of Indian Railways before I took over myself. And you just go all over to see various responsibilities firsthand.
Hmm. Hmm. So, before we began shooting, you said something very interesting कि railways की सबको crisis में ही याद आती है. Otherwise, everyone thinks कि it's just going on. So, tell us a little bit about the challenges that you had early on in your
The
career.
toughest challenge a railwayman faces when there is an accident. And it involves public, and if it is a passenger train accident involving casualties or not involving casualties, that of course casualties takes improves or seriousness goes up very high. But accident is a nightmare, and the response, what we have been trained is that 20-minute time the train relief train must move, and it does move. And with everything on board, doctors and medicine, they're already there. You have to be, and this must come from the station within 20 minutes, must depart. It gets placed before that. There are people nominated. That who all will go is all legislated. They don't have to be told. Only a siren is required. And now, of course, SMSs have come because mobiles were not there initially. You are all staying in railway colony. If there are three long, one short means that whistle code means, my dear friend, get up and go. And your families were so well trained that if you're not listening to that, your wife will wake you up, as I've been done so many times by my wife, that there is a siren coming up and there's three short, one long, or three longs or something of that code can. So that is one big challenge, which is very important to be faced, because there are lots of expectations: early restoration, immediate relief, passenger standards must move out, new trains if it's raining, far away, all kinds of things. These are then the normal working challenges. You have the expectations of the people, crowd is too much, like the melas which we handle, or sometimes politicians coming to you with the demands of people. Some are genuine, some are not genuine. You have to tell and convince them, sir, that whatever is right we have been told to do, whatever is not right we'll respond to you why we can't do it. But the simplest thing in such situations is respond and give a feedback. They are pretty intelligent people. They understand what is possible and what's not possible. And they used to tell us that, sir, if it is right, you'll do it yourself. If it's not right, then only we'll come. And you have to find a way. And we have to say, sorry, it's not possible. It's possible. So these kind of challenges.
Any particular instance that you remember early on?
A very simple one. Let's say I was in a place, general manager, and the request came, sir, you reopen a closed level crossing. Had been closed. Now, how do I close a level crossing? I get to make a naksha, get it approved by state government. Yes, it's perfect to be closed. This is the road which will be constructed, this bridge will be constructed, and you have done. Now, when you have a change of this sort, the people who suffer are the ones who are doing hand rickshaws, or people who are walking, or cycle walas. They arise, why you have changed my path, and you have given me a subway, it gets clogged, it gets rainy, and all those problems happen. So that's natural, there is a difficulty, and they want us to reopen a level crossing. It was very difficult. I was geared out by the local politician there, and I said, sir, I just can't do it, because reopening has never happened on a closed line. That was one. Second, I was in Bombay and I was called, look here, please give these people are staying in an unauthorized area on a railway land, give them a land occupation certificate so that they can get in the slum development authority some flats. Sir, I can't do it. How can I give a certificate of settlement on an unauthorized land? I just can't do it. But the person refused to understand. And I had no choice. Third, which is more critical, local politician wanted to start a fresh union. I was a DRM of Mumbai, and they said, no, I want to start a union. And the existing unions are very strong, and they said, sir, these people only talk with violence. And one night at 11 o'clock, I got a call that these people are erecting a stage in front of the office with a mic on, and they're going to announce the formation of a union. And so you take a call, you call yourself very responsive, very direct, and very forthwith. Now, please decide. And I took about 15 minutes to decide what to do. Then I had to order a demolition of the stage in the night at 1 o'clock. I said, I'll face the challenge tomorrow morning. And true enough, 11 o'clock, gentleman walked to me in my room with 20 people surrounded. And I explained to him that I can't permit you. And he said, sir, then don't suspend my people. And then dialogue went on and went on. He was very nice that he walked away and has not taken the trouble of entering Mumbai division even after 21 years. The discipline has been maintained. So this kind of management is not taught in any IIM, not in any school. It's just because my people who came and said, sir, you go away from this office now, because those people are coming, they're all rowdies and they do all kinds of things. I said, I just can't go. I cannot leave, because not only rowdies, my own officers and people are watching me. That how do you behave such people who are nuisance to us? Let's see how you deal with them. So it's your luck, your memory, your kind of gut feeling that time, and how you present your case. And God is with you if you are very clear.
Railways is, of course, famously the largest employer in the country. Now, if you can break this down for our viewers, what does that really mean? How many people do you have working for you? What does that mean for actual human resource policies of the railways? How does it affect policy making? Does it impede your ability to take decisions of modernization, downsizing, etc.? What are the responses of railway unions like? How do you manage this big
When
force?
I joined railways, we were 18 lakh people, 1.8 million, the greatest in the country, more than the army. Today we are around 1.21, 1.2 lakhs. After introduction of technology, and the biggest chunk was steam locomotives. It employs 3 people. There's a lot of infrastructure required to pour coal on the locomotive and water. Now locomotive need 2 people. So that was one big change. And then steam loco goes for a smaller distance. Diesel locomotive, electric locomotive goes for a bigger distance. So a lot of closure of maintenance facilities happened. So that was a big chunk. Then the train staff, train conductors and all those people, you started giving more coaches. You brought technology in making reservation charts. So you have no queues now at the station for selling tickets, for reservation of tickets. So all those people went in slowly and slowly. But nobody likes downsizing. Downsizing is a very nice word of saying reduction of people. And the common refrain of the unions was, if you want to reduce, why don't you reduce officer cadre? You are reducing the staff cadre who are our paymaster. They give us subscription. Why should I not fight for them? And they are right also. But then slowly and slowly that part also started happening, that technology brought in more jobs, different type of requirements. And the officer also cadre also started, that we recruited at one time, let's say 40 in a batch, it came down to 20 in a batch. But whatever you have recruited, you can't throw them out. So that's how it was. Railway, of course, is the biggest supplier of railway engineering capability in the country. All the other PSUs of railways, all the other non-government railway organizations having port railway, and they have lot of railwaymen, metros, all initial supply of talent came from the Indian Railways. So a lot of people ventured out there for various reasons, rights, they're gone, and things of that sort. So to manage them, you got to have unions with you. It is not possible. The union who are handling so many people, and you say, sorry, my orders are final. So we have a very structured system. We call it permanent negotiating machinery,
Okay.
PNM, which happens once in 2 months. 2 unions, so once every month for us and once every 2 months for them, with a structured agenda. 2 days meeting every month for us, and 2 days meeting every 2 months for them. All over the country in 68 divisions and workshops, 56 workshops. Then that is the field level, then at zonal level and the board level, slightly 3 months or 4 months time. It's a regular meeting of feedback where you can shout your way out, you can expose your, bring out your problems, and that's how the policies keep on developing. They don't normally take individual cases, but individual cases we make the policy as so many people get involved. And general trend has been that, look here, we and you have to go together to run the railway, and that mindset has happened. The initial strike 1976, that was a different time, but now railwayman is not thinking of that sort, and government has become very responsive, the officers have become responsive.
So you mentioned the train has to stop everywhere, reach on time. Just take us a little bit behind the scenes, because as I said, the expectation of the passenger is that I will be taken from point A to point B very smoothly. But we don't really very often know what's going on behind the scene to make that happen. So if you can tell our viewers technically what all is happening to make a train run from point A to point B.
Oh, yes, see, Indian Railways has a basic structural issue, that same track carries Mercedes, carries a horse cart, carries a tanga, carries a cycle rickshaw, auto. What does it mean? You have a freight train, you have a high-speed Rajdhani, you have a EMU train, you have a, let's say, a suburban train, everything on the same track. They all have different speeds. Now, in that situation, if the train ahead is not running to time, has got stopped in the way because of some reason, alarm chain pulling, engine trouble, or a person left behind, or something of that, or a cattle run over case. So the train behind will be suffer, because you have 2 tracks or 3 tracks, one unidirectional. Though one train going particular direction cannot come on the other track unless you have a station, and then there's changeover facility available. So this is how one after another tracks have to be, and you can give precedence, but that can only happen at a station, which happens, of course. But to start a train, you must have a train first. You must have a clean train, maintained train, say safety certificate, must be on the platform. Today 23 coaches, 24, 22 coaches, long coaches. Train length is about 650 meters. If one end to another end is a very long thing, then the driver to guard communication, that must be there. Now it has become simple with all those walkie-talkies and things. At that time, it was only the green flag which used to be shown. One person in between will repeat the flag to the other, to the guard from the driver, to the center, to the last, because it's all in the curve. You can't see. So train starts, and then you pick up speed. You can leave, and then when you meet another track, it's called a point or a crossing. So you cannot move more than that speed. Every section has a specified speed. You cannot cross that speed. And when you cross past any station, there is a signal exchange between the pilot and the station master. The station master gives green that he's watching the train movement, everything is safe, you please proceed. If the moment he shows red, he has to stop. That is a signal to the pilot, as also the guard. The guard, if you see very closely, behind the guard there is a red lamp in the night which burns, and the daytime is a green flag which says that the end of the train is fine, because we don't have a EOTT system, the end of train telemetry as of now, so we have to have a guard, and that is a safety requirement. Then you have a what should I say, timing. So what, to maintain timing, we have a time which you call a working time. We have a passenger time. For passenger, we have told, let's say, 20 minutes run, but actually I'll be taking 17 minutes. 3 minutes I have kept for my anything going wrong. I'll reach before time, but I can't start before time. So all those happens, and then at the end, the pilot must change every 8 hours. So we have designed that Delhi Rajdhani will start, Kota driver will change, Ratlam or Baroda driver will change, and then Bombay driver will change. And driver change time 5 minutes. In 5 minutes, you got to get down and take out your all the belongings. Next man loads, and then it's not so
Very
easy.
high stress job.
Yes, because and driver, you see, when you go, let's say, drive from Delhi to Ghaziabad or this thing, you have highways, ring roads, very few signals. So you are through, jam is there. But in railways, it's not so. Every 8 to 9 kilometers, there is one step of signals. One step means at least 4 signals.
The conflict between civil servants and engineering service officers within the railways has been quite intense. We have written at the print about it a lot. Uh, why do you think, where does this tension stem from? And we know that the government in 2019 announced a very big reform, saying that we're going to merge all the 8 railway services, different services, 5 of the engineering service and 3 civil services. Um, and that reform faced a lot of opposition. 5 years later, it seems that the government found it unimplementable. They said that we don't have enough technical officers coming into the railways because we've merged everything up into one railway service. So they've now demerged it. Why is this such a contentious subject? Can you take us through the nitty-gritties of what is the logic behind this conflict?
It's very simple. First of all, the conflict, that departmentalism, and all those kinds of things. The basic thing is, I have chosen, let us say, Indian Railway Traffic Service or Indian Railway Service of Mechanical Engineers. So I've chosen that career. So nobody's throwing me out. You will remain a mechanical officer. He will remain a traffic officer. So where is the conflict? You have to work together so train should run. The conflict happens, you see. Look here, in the one particular service, you get promoted 1 year early or 2 years early, and I am not able to get promoted. So, or your posting stations are much better, headquarters, my posting stations are not so good. So that is basic thing, starts with the promotion aspects. One particular service has more promotions because it has more jobs, more posts rather, I should say. Other has less posts, so less jobs, less promotional avenues. So that is how it starts. Then fund allocation, that you have more projects, and more projects will mean more posts. Now, people who are not part of the railway, they feel this is a silo. Okay, you are operating in your own world, you are not looking after, and you'll take your own interest of your department and don't care of the railway. Yeah, it's a very good argument. I have nothing to, but it is a very wrong argument, very simplistic argument. It's like saying a skin specialist as a doctor will look after cancer patient also. It's not possible. A signaling engineer cannot look after rolling stock, and our rolling stock cannot look after operations or business development. The mindset is different. Nothing is wrong with departments. The feeling of departmentalism creates the problem. And that cannot be avoided because you are wedded to a particular point. And we have 8 services. We must get appreciation that even with 8 services, you are able to manage and take the train. Nobody will say, sir, look here, this department is not functioning. Today, train will not go. Nobody has said. Nobody has said that today driver forgot, sir, we forgot to order the driver for this train. Train is standing. Its system is working. So why do we like this? I just fail to understand.
Do you think the railways needs civil servants at all? The people who come through traffic and other kind of the
The
UPSC
issue
civil service
is
exam,
uh,
or
you
can it
have
be handled by engineers?
the issue is very simple. You need that expertise. If you recruit an engineer and train him for operations exclusively, then he has to surrender his engineering capability. But you cannot be engineer today, operations tomorrow, and finance man on the third day. That has to be very clearly. Like for me, why do you look at the civil service aspirants? Let us say between the engineering also. I have a civil engineer to a single engineer, mechanical engineer, electrical engineer. Can you hop over? No. The engineer word is common. So here the railways word is common. You must appreciate that part. You have trained a man in running of a train, running of a control station, control center, operation center, and he knows it, how to run a train. So now you want to say, all right, today you run a train, tomorrow you maintain a locomotive. Then it's a different specialty. And that's the problem that RDSO research is completely different. So this kind of thing of making one to, I don't know why it should be talked about.
And you, sir, spent a very large part of your career in the, at least in the initial years, in railway maintenance. Now, tell us a little bit about that. Did we always manufacture our own coaches and engines? What were the challenges like?
You see, the point is railway has manufacturing facility, ICF is Perambur, Chitranjan, Banaras, now Banaras Locomotive Works. Then we have Rail Coach Factory Kapurthala, Modern Coach Factory Raebareli, and other Patiala and Dahod and all those.
So, how many are there?
5 big ones, and then other ones are coming up. The basic challenge that yeah, we can manufacture. We have been manufacturing because the industry was not ready. Today also industry is coming up small bit. VML is doing something. He was doing before also. Today is also doing. Some private players also coming up. But the problem is that they need surety of orders. Like wagon industry, railway don't make that many wagons. They make 3,000, 4,000 wagons. And the rest all come from the private sector. So technology change in the government, it takes time. Let's say when we had wooden bodied coaches, when we got independence, very unsafe. When it came to steel coaches, the ICF, unsafe for higher speeds and people die more in a crash. LHB coaches, 90s, early 2000, and now coming to Vande Bharat designs. So this transformation takes time. So that's why metro coaches, they adopted directly. Look at Mr. Alstom or Mr. Siemens, bring your coach, this is my track and run it and look after yourself. So I don't have the capability to make it myself. You have Indian this thing. I'll order like a car that the Maruti you make manufacture. I'll buy the car. I don't know about the car. I'll take it to a garage, and you have certified garage. You maintain it. So similar concept there. But Indian Railways that has not taken off. Yeah, and unless you make a new railway from the very scratch, which is very difficult, no country is doing it. Nowhere in the world is happening. World may be happening because they have private capitalism there, but in India it's not that easy, it's not that simple, and that's why privatization in railway, just on the front of it, does not succeed. Nobody talks of it. There are rumors, railwaymen, railway unions, they'll say privatize, what is wrong, something the government is doing it. It's not privatization, it is induction into technology without taking your job, but in a different way. That's how the bullet train has come. Japan, you are getting a technology which you don't have. Now, if you don't have, if you want to learn that, take 50 years. Now, you want to wait for 50 years? No. The project has a different, completely different technology, 300 kilometers plus. If you take railways, the safety protocols are all different. You need a dedicated line which is protected. Nobody can come on the track. That's why we need laying a new line. No freight trains. Every train is the same and moving at specified intervals with a centralized control. So it has to be expensive because you don't have it. So you got to go from somewhere and get it. Only thing in the process, you learn it. You try to make Japan to make it India, and do as much as you can. Collaborate, but make in India. And that's what is happening in majority of them. And that's why things are getting delayed.
Why are things getting delayed?
Let's say Japan gave a quote for something which is very high. Let's say project coach cost, let's say 5 crores or 10 crores. Now the high speed coach cost, let us say 50 crores. Now it hits my head, yeah, why can't I make it cheaper? And now keep on dialogue. No, this train is so expensive. Now I must know what you are giving me. I'll be using it for next 15 years. So that should not become obsolete. I must get a design which is in the building for you also, and should come the same thing. I must not get anything which you have thrown out. So that is how we should keep on. And the moment you give me a train and you say, sorry, this is outdated for me, so I'm getting outdated product. I must get a current product. And all these big projects, they are time bound, of course, but they have element of delay because you are going on uncharted territory. Like say Kashmir line, 2003 we started 3,000 crore, we invested 42,000 crore. Because the way we went there, we found we make a tunnel and get filled with water. We make another tunnel, it gets collapsed because mountains are like that. You had to get input technology, and it was you don't know how much it was going to cost. The government took a very clear decision that we have to be there, whatever it is, and so they are there now. Similarly, high speed, they are spin-offs like space projects. They are spin-off. Whatever you develop for these projects will have effect on what you are doing today. So when you got color TV, so much of criticism. Why you need color? You need an image. And now they say if it's not color, if color should be so much different types, HD, Super HD, and all kinds of things. So
Yeah.
that's how it is.
Tell us about the idea of the dedicated freight corridors because you were involved a lot in that project. When was it conceptualized? When did you start working on the dedicated freight corridors? And how do you assess how have they panned out?
Start basically dedicated corridors. The first big debate was why should it be a passenger dedicated corridor or a freight dedicated corridor?
When was this?
This is 2006,
That's when the
2005, 2006.
conversation around it started.
Yes. Then they decided, look here, we will get funding for a freight corridor because it was quite expensive. And that time they calculated the cost to be about 22,000 crore. It landed up to 88,000 is a different matter. So once that started, then all these kind of iterations happened. Who will fund what, and it went on. In 2012, we got funding from Japan for the Western, and from World Bank and ADB from the Eastern corridor. Fundamental differences are between two is that Western side is container, Eastern side is coal. Container had a big problem that you want to move double containers, one over the other, double stack, double decker. When you have a double decker, the initial plan was, so sorry, we will not have OHE, no electrification, because you have empty space, so you can easily go. So that decision later on was taken. It has to be electrified, and you must compensate that electrification in your designs for the wagons. So then they said, all right, we'll do that. Then the concept came of high-rise OHE. The electrical wire will be much above than the normal wire of the individuals, and you move double stack. Then the contract or the 8 terms from Japan, JICA, were that so much money will come from purchasing from Japan. And that delayed, and all kinds of contract finalization. I had to go to Japan to finalize so many things because they insisted on a particular style of working. Indian government on Indian Railways had different style of working. As far as tender allocation things are concerned, that delayed quite a lot. And it was a very big tussle which had to be resolved because we believe in a tender system and they did not believe so much in that. But once it has happened, that it has taken away the load of the freight trains from the existing route. In the sense that you take a train, let us say at a particular station, run on your circuit as a highway, 50 kilometers at one station, like that means if you start from one, then you will stop only after 50. You continue, nothing, no signal, nothing in between. So that's why all the trains, 400 trains are moving in the eastern, and about that many, 300 or so, 200, 250 on the eastern sides. You have released capacity on the existing route for taking other trains. That's why you find more passenger trains are being added in the Lava division or in Mumbai, Gujarat area, because you have released the capacity. So it has worked very well. That's why the concept of new dedicated ferry route was that if it has succeeded, why not we think of Bombay to Chennai to Calcutta. That is also reports are ready. Depends how you fund it. They need a separate organization or the railway will do it. That's a conceptual strategy. That things will concerned ministries will decide at the moment.
Right. My last question, sir. I'm actually a student of sociology, so this is one of my favorite questions to ask all my guests. You were in service from 1976 to 2014. Of course, India changed in many ways in these decades. Railways would have changed in many ways in these decades. Tell us some of the more transformative changes that you saw in the railways, especially post liberalization. How do you think economic liberalization changed railways or the
Everything,
job of a railwayman?
everything is in the mindset. When things get liberalized, you are in competitive area. Railway somehow has been insulated from competition, except from road competition, which has been taking away railway traffic on a percentage basis, not on the volume
Yeah.
basis. So if you see the transformation in railways, the biggest thing which has happened is air conditioning of coaches. People love air travel because it's very convenient. And this introduction of third AC coach, that has changed the whole concept because all the sleeper coaches, people have moved to 3 AC and some 2 AC also has moved to 3 AC and original first class coaches has vanished. So first AC is not so much in demand. You have only one coach or at best two coaches in Rajdhani. Rest all one coach or half a coach. 2 AC and 3 AC, yes, so many. General services has moved to sleeper coaches. So that has been the shift in the passenger and 3 AC is making money for the railways also. Liberalization meaning that you can do the cheapest product as of now and you can buy from the industry and they're getting support by way of collaboration and things. So industry developed and when industry develops I don't have to have my sources developed. Let us say a sleeper. Over the time we have got virtually stop registration of more sleeper units because I have 24 already or the sleeper fittings of that sort. So many of them. And railways don't differentiate big or small. They say by this product, this specification you make, become experimental vendor or developmental vendor and then come in the regular. So very structured system. So this kind of liberalization gave that kind of fillip.
And you were involved in a lot of these changes. So I want to finally understand that was it challenging to convince private players to invest in railways?
Any private player wants some kind of certainty that if I invest today, I will not be thrown out. But the government does not give a kind of developmental grant to any at least for the railway sector. So you invest yourself, bring your product, we'll buy that, we'll support you in your development, we'll give you trials, and then if it is okay, then we'll buy. But the moment start selling, the lot of people start entering, and then the prices come down. Then people feel cheated. Look here, I spend all the efforts, and somebody else is getting the cake. This is slightly sad part of the whole thing because we don't give any financial support for development and a guaranteed order business. Let's say the old toilets. I was involved in a project in modifying the toilets, modifying the front of the train, making the cone kind of thing, which gives a better aerodynamic look and better, less resistance. Now, and we got support from Ministry of Science and Technology, and we made new FRP toilets. But after some time, they had to be discarded because people started making substandard toilets, and it takes time to detect which is substandard, which is not substandard. You put it and then use it. Then after 2 years, you realize what is happening. So, but industry interaction became very substantial, and the faith also developed that if you are saying by and large you will buy that product because I am competitively and technologically superior than what you are using. So that is the biggest thing in liberalization. All the mindset that I have to change. If I am not changing, then the other sector like the car industry, auto industry, that they are changing, and that's what it is.
Yeah, yeah. This has been such an informational conversation for me as well. And I hope all our viewers who, much like me, use the railways all the time would be able to appreciate what goes on behind the scenes a little more after this conversation. Thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you.
us.